Number 10. Seal of disapproval. It's better to be safe than sorry, and you should always practice safe sex. It's also best to be smart and use your head, the one on top of your neck. 25-year-old Salman Mirza and his ex did not do this. The two lovers checked into a hotel for an intimate encounter, but a night that should have been a lot of fun quickly turned into a nightmare. When they didn't have a condom in the heat of the moment, they decided on another alternative: epoxy glue. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard that correctly. To avoid a possible pregnancy, they glued Salman's genitals shut. According to the couple's friends, both Salman and his ex were addicted to drugs. They were both high as a kite when they did the deed, using the same substance they had often inhaled from time to time. After the sealing and the sexual encounter, the couple left the hotel without any issues. But hours later, Salman Mirza was found passed out in some bushes near his home. He was quickly taken to the hospital, but the doctors couldn't do anything to save his life. He died of a multi-organ failure caused by the glue on his penis. His family blamed his ex, accusing her of having killed him by putting epoxy glue on his genitals. And they're not wrong. But honestly, it was both of their decision to do something so incredibly stupid. Number 9. Death by air compressor. Compressed air is a serious business, and apparently it can also be used to murder someone. Two men from Japan made an extremely dumb decision that resulted in one man's death and one man being arrested and taken to jail. While working at the Ibaraki Tsukuba City manufacturing plant, the two guys were messing around on their break and decided to let his coworker force compressed air up his rectum. Yup, initiate the eye roll. They actually thought it would be funny to inject a blast of compressed air in this particular spot on the body. According to Fox News, a man named Yoshida blasted air up a guy named Ishimaru's butt and killed him. Just minutes after the air went up his butt, he got sick. He had to be taken to the hospital, and he later perished from internal injuries. His coworker admitted what happened to the authorities and was arrested for it. But what makes this story so exceptional is that in a statement, the police said it was not the first accident of its kind. This kind of thing happens more frequently than you would think. And what makes it even more remarkable is that the air compressor was not even pushed up against the man's skin, it was only pushed against his clothing. But the powerful release of air still went up his butt and caused immense damage to his lungs, which ended up killing him. Number 8. Gasoline cocktail. Gasoline is poison. Drinking gasoline is obviously a horrible idea, and when you add fire to the situation, you have quite the combustion cocktail. A man named Gary from North Carolina accidentally guzzled a jar of gasoline. Gross. He had been in his friend's apartment when he mistook a jar of gas for a jar of clear liquor. It seems pretty obvious that you shouldn't be drinking out of a random glass jar in people's houses, but don't worry, this story gets even dumber as we go on. So Gary accidentally drank some of the gasoline, he takes a big gulp, realizes what it was, and then spits the rest out. Some of it ended up dripping on his clothes. If he had just taken one gulp of gasoline, Gary would have lived to at least see one more day. But after drinking gasoline, Gary decided to step outside and have a cigarette. When he lit up, he burst into flames. He was immediately rushed to the hospital with severe burns, but unfortunately Gary died later that day. According to the Havelock police, alcohol was definitely involved in the incident. Are you surprised? Most dumb decisions are typically made while under the influence of alcohol or some other substance. Oh, and in case you live under a rock and didn't know that gasoline was flammable, well, now you do. On a scale of 1 to 10, how dumb is this guy? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 7. Distracted driving. This next one is pretty embarrassing, and there's a reason why most places have made it illegal to use your phone while driving. It's called distracted driving, and it is very dangerous. But one guy in Michigan took the dangers of distracted driving to a whole new level. According to the Detroit News, the driver had no pants on. He was watching adult videos on his phone, and he was driving down the street without wearing a seatbelt. One of the representatives from the Michigan State Police stated that it was one of the most bizarre incidents he had ever dealt with during his career as a law enforcement officer. The pantless driver lost control of his vehicle while watching his adult videos, the car rolled over, and he was partially ejected through his sunroof. As you can probably imagine, it was a gruesome scene that the police arrived to. The guy was horribly mangled and very dead when they got there. The lesson here is that the next time you're driving down the highway and feel a little randy, leave your pants on and put your phone in the glove compartment. Number 6. Exterminating brain cells. They say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You might say that's exactly what happened when a man burned down his parents' home, killed 3 pets, and ruined his own life, all because he wanted to exterminate some ants. The guy was not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he wasn't a monster. He was trying to get rid of the pesky ants by burning them, but instead burned down the entire house. According to the report from the New York Daily News, the guy was sitting in his basement flicking lit matches at ants. You might be thinking this makes sense for a young kid or a teenager, but this guy was actually 21 years old enough to know better. One of the flicked matches landed on a combustible material, sparking a fire that quickly spread. He grabbed some of his favorite things and ran out of the house while it started to collapse in flames. The fire department came, but it was too late. The guy was treated for smoke inhalation and burns on his body. 2 cats perished and 1 dog died, which makes you really wonder why he was carrying objects out of the house and not the living animals. What a prick. The house was trashed and the guy's parents were probably pretty upset when they got home. Number 5. Gender reveal reveals you are stupid. Whatever happened to cutting a cake and seeing if the inside was pink or blue, or popping a balloon full of pink or blue confetti? When did gender reveals become so intense? Dramatic reveal parties have been trending lately, with people doing all kinds of wild and hilarious things to announce the sex of their baby. But in September 2020, a disastrous reveal revealed one thing: these gender reveals need to chill out. A couple in San Bernardino County in California decided to use a pyrotechnic smoke-generating device at their gender reveal party. It was a blast, to say the least. In the video, you can see the partygoers at the edge of El Dorado Ranch Park, with one person leaning down to light the device. Moments later, everyone in the park is screaming and running away in a flurry of chaos as flames suddenly raged out of control. The fire immediately spread north, according to the fire department. The fire raged and quickly grew into a forest fire, burning over 8,600 acres of land. Nobody died in the catastrophic reveal, but let this be a lesson to you expecting couples out there, especially in California. You don't need to use anything flammable to announce if your baby is going to be a boy or a girl. Number 4. Facebook busted. A man named John Mogan II made a seriously dumb and incredibly bad mistake. He robbed a savings bank in Pickaway County. Maybe he thought he was Jason Statham. We don't really know. You have to be pretty stupid to try and rob banks these days anyway. But what's really crazy is that John may have gotten away with the crime had he just been a little bit more discreet about it. After taking all that money home, which was only about $6,000, John decided to brag about it on the internet. He took to what has become the downfall of many dumb criminals over the past decade: Facebook. He posted photos of himself holding up the cash he stole for roughly 6 billion people to see. Well, you know who saw those photos? The local police. John was arrested, and Judge P. Randall Nessie sentenced him to 3 years in prison. The judge also ordered that John repay the money he took from the bank. But the story isn't over yet. John was assisted by his equally dumb girlfriend, Ashley DeBow, who also pled guilty. She was charged with being complicit to the robbery and sentenced to serve 2 years. She was also sentenced to help her dumb boyfriend repay the $6,000. Number 3. Don't pee on the crocodiles. It's one thing to visit a lagoon filled with crocodiles and try to get up close and personal with one of them. That's a pretty stupid thing to do. Something even worse would be to try and pee on a crocodile. Also, that's really rude. The Nechupti Lagoon in Cancun is one of the biggest tourist hotspots down in Mexico, and it was most recently the site of a serious crocodile attack. It all started when a stupid tourist pulled down his pants and decided to relieve himself. As he urinated into the lagoon, a crocodile lurked below in the water. As reported by the New York Post, the crocodile leapt out of the water, clamped its jaws down on the guy's arm right as he was in the middle of doing his business, then tore his forearm off at the elbow. Ouch! It doesn't get much more gruesome than that. The guy struggled with the enormous reptile, but managed to escape and run away minus one of his arms. An ambulance quickly rushed the guy to a local hospital where he had emergency surgery. As of the time of the report, the man was in critical condition and fighting for his life. The lagoon where he decided to relieve himself is known to be infested with crocodiles, with some of the animals reaching at least 10 feet, or just about 3 meters in length. Number 2. Cookie dough dough. This next listing is dumb, but not because the person in question didn't have a lot of brain cells. You know how your parents always told you not to eat raw cookie dough? You probably ignored them and ate it anyway because, well, it's delicious. But you may never eat raw cookie dough again after hearing this. Years ago, a woman named Linda Rivera died after consuming a few spoonfuls of Nestle Toll House's cookie dough. She didn't die right away, but rather she suffered a very slow, painful death. It actually took 4 years for the cookie dough to kill her. Unknowingly to Linda, the raw dough she ate was contaminated with a deadly strain of E. coli. According to a report from ABC News, her kidneys stopped functioning and she later went into septic shock. She just kept getting sicker and sicker. Wait a minute, does this mean this is going to happen to you? Are you thinking of the cookie dough you ate last week? Don't worry, you're probably fine. Linda experienced an exceptional reaction to the E. coli that caused her to get sicker than normal. She suffered a brain injury and had to have many parts of her large intestines removed. She was even put on a ventilator for months at a time. Eventually, Rivera's body couldn't take it anymore. She died in 2013 due to the medical complications surrounding the E. coli she had been infected with many years earlier. But is the cookie dough to blame? Absolutely. Before her death, Linda actually made claims against the company that produced the cookie dough that killed her, which caused Nestle to recall the product in 2009 after dozens of other cases of E. coli poisoning popped up. I guess the only dumb person in this story was whoever didn't check the product before sending it to grocery stores. Number 1. Snake kisses. To truly learn and appreciate something, most of us have to learn the hard way. If you get a DUI, you most likely will never drink and drive again. If you're playing with fire and your eyebrows burn off, you probably won't play with flames again. Or if you're a toddler and you stick your fingers in an electrical socket and get shocked, it's fair to say that this would be the first and last time that happens. Most of the time, people learn their lesson, and that's that. They have a funny story or a gnarly scar. Normal people already know that some snakes are deadly, and if you play with one, you'll probably get bit, right? One of the more ridiculous cases of extremely dumb people playing with snakes is that of an 18-year-old man living in Tampa, Florida. The guy caught a water moccasin, also known as a cottonmouth. These snakes are venomous and should not be played with. Rather than run away from the snake like any normal human's instincts would scream at them to do, this guy took the 4-foot or just over 1 meter snake home with him, put it in a pillowcase, and stuffed it under his bed. If you're thinking, what the heck? Who in their right mind would do that? You're not alone. Seriously, who does that? According to a report from the Sun Sentinel, the young man was so fond of his newly captured serpent that he tried to give it a little smooch. The snake wasn't as into him as he was into it, though, and rather than accepting his kisses, the snake sunk its fangs into his face. We don't know about you, but we definitely saw that one coming. The guy had to be hospitalized, and the State Wildlife Commission opened an investigation. Fortunately, the kid didn't die, and hopefully he learned not to take wild venomous creatures home to make out. Thanks for watching. Which of these stories was the dumbest to you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time on the Bad Badger.